Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I thought it would be kind of fun to combine my love of books with my love of movies. So clearly I'm someone who loves to read, who loves to consume stories, and I don't only love to read books, I also love to consume my stories in the form of movies. And I know that a ton of other people also love to consume their stories in this way. So I thought if you're someone who loves movies and books, or if you're someone who only loves movies but might want to get more into books, that you might like a video recommending books based on some movies that I've really enjoyed. Now, the movies I'm going to mention today aren't necessarily my favorite movies of all time, so you can let me know if you guys want me to do a video about my favorite movies or comparing those movies to books, but these are just some movies that I found were similar to some books that I've read and really liked. So today I'm just going to be telling all of you about those books and those movies. Before we get started, I just want to say that the first half of this video will be about movies that, from my knowledge, aren't based on books already, so they are just movies that were written to be a movie, and then I'm going to be comparing them to books I like. And then the other half of the list will be movies that were based on books, but I'll be recommending a different book that is similar to that movie. But obviously the book that the movie is actually made after is probably the first book you should look into reading after watching the movie. So yeah, let's get right into that list. The first movie that I'll be talking about is The Game, which is directed by David Fincher, who is one of my favorite directors of all time. He also directed Fight Club, Seven, and many other movies. The Game is about a man whose friend, on one of his birthdays, decides to buy him a gift voucher to a certain company that puts on a game. And he doesn't really know what that means or what it is, or if anyone actually uses this company, or if it's actually trustworthy, or if this gift is a complete scam, but he decides to try it out, and the game begins. So the book that I think is quite similar to that in some ways, but not always, is The God Game by Danny Tobey. I do not have my copy right now of it because I lent it to a friend, but The God Game is about a group of teens that, after chatting with an AI online that claims to be God, they get mysterious texts from this AI saying that they're invited to play the God Game. And essentially they become involved in this world-encompassing game that connects to real life, and it's not just in the game. So essentially they get messages that are saying if you lose, you die, and you can get golds, which are good, and good things will happen to you in life if you follow what the game says, or you can get blacks, which will cause violence to be done onto you if you do things that the game doesn't want you to do. And there's really no way to escape, and it's a crazy time, and both the game and the God Game really relate because throughout the whole story you're questioning what is the game, what's not the game, what's real, what's fake, what's going on, and just all those things make them similar. Obviously the technology aspect of the God Game is a bit different from the game, which doesn't rely on that as much. It's a different sort of situation, but both of these, this book and this movie, I think if you like one, you will probably like the other. And The God Game comes out on January 7th of 2020, so that'll be soon, but I was so kindly sent an advance copy of it, so that's why I've already read it. The second movie on this list is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it is Interstellar, which is about a father who lives on a farm with his kids and his father. And in this version of the world, it's in the future, the world is ending because there are essentially droughts and this weird fog that comes, and no plants are surviving and everyone's gonna die of starvation. So this father used to be an engineer, and he's very passionate about finding solutions to this, but when he goes to the school where his son is struggling, the school people refuse to believe in his daughter is also really passionate about science, and eventually him and her go on a little adventure to try to find out what's going on in her bedroom, where weird things are happening with gravity. Things are falling down in ways that they shouldn't be. So eventually they go out to investigate this, and they end up finding the underground version of NASA, which shouldn't exist at this point because the world is essentially against science. And from there it goes on from that. And a lot of it takes place in outer space with a central spaceship element. So the book that I would recommend if you like Interstellar is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Now this book is the first book in a trilogy called the Illuminae Files, and it's about two teens who had just broken up on the planet that they live on, which is not Earth, and on the day that they break up, this planet gets attacked and all the people on it become refugees and have to go onto these different spaceships to escape the planet. And once they're on the spaceships, they're separated. So Katie is on one and Ezra is on the other plane, and they still communicate because of what just happened. They want to make sure each other are okay, even though they just broke up. And this series and this book is a wild ride. In this book specifically, there is also a disease on the ships that is spreading, and no one really knows where it came from, what it is. No one knows why they got attacked. No one knows reasons for that and how they're going to be saved. They don't know either, or if there's any enemies following them. And this book is written in a multimedia format, and it's honestly so gripping, and it's one of my favorite books of all time. I've read it twice. The audiobooks are also really good, and I definitely will need to reread this soon because it's incredible. And after watching Interstellar, I've been in such a mood for sci-fi. So if anyone else has some recommendations too for a good sci-fi movie or book, please let me know. If you like in Interstellar the fact that they play with the idea of time and relativity, then you'll probably really enjoy the second book in this series, which is called Gemina, because that also discusses the same themes of wormholes and time and relativity. The next movie on this list is Face to Face. This movie is honestly not the best movie I've ever seen. I think I gave it like around 3.5 stars. Like, it was enjoyable, better than I honestly thought it would be, but not, you know, something amazing. But if you like the themes and the vibe that movie made, then I think you would like the book I'm gonna recommend. But first, let me tell you a bit about the movie. So the movie is about an outcast teen boy who doesn't really have any friends, and in a desperate attempt, like late at night, he decides to call one of his old childhood friends, who's now a super popular girl. And he's actually, I'm pretty sure now he's homeschooled, because I don't think they really know each other at this point, but I don't know, somehow they don't know each other anymore, and he wants to get to know her again. So they call and they FaceTime, and she essentially like brings him to this party on FaceTime, and they start really hitting it off. So they start talking to each other almost every day. They get really, really close, and it seems like maybe something more could possibly be there. But this movie does actually have a lot of plot twists, so just putting that out there so you know. I went in thinking it would be, you know, like a romance movie. It really was not. So just, yeah, wanted to let you know. Similar themes to that movie, actually, and what actually goes down regarding plot twists and whatnot reminded me a lot of John Green's Paper Towns. So Paper Towns is about a boy named Quentin, and he goes by Q, and he is kind of obsessed with a girl in his grade named Margot Roth Spiegelman. And so he becomes friends with her eventually after a while of just admiring her. And eventually, though, she goes missing, and he doesn't know where she is, and he gets very concerned for her and goes on. He eventually needs to go on a road trip to try to find her. And the ending of this book is really reminds me a lot of the movie, because I won't let go into it too much, but essentially they have similar themes and similar plot points. So I think if you like Paper Towns or Face to Face, you would probably like the other, and vice versa. The next movie that I'm going to talk about is called Seven, and it is also directed by David Fincher, who again is one of my favorite directors, so that's why I'll watch a lot of movies directed by him. This movie stars Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, and I'm not talking about actors for all the movies, but really like both of them, so that's just a selling point if you want to watch it, and not a lot of people have actually heard of it. So Seven follows a serial killer who kills using the 7 deadly sins. So he'll kill a super obese man for being gluttonous, but he'll also kill him in a way that showcases his gluttony. So for example, the first kill of the movie is gluttony, and the man basically, he forces the man to eat so much that he physically just dies, like his stomach physically bursts. And the movie uses a lot of like body horror, so if you don't want to see that, I highly recommend not watching this movie. But if you're someone like me who watches a lot of really disturbing things for some reason, I would definitely recommend this movie. It is very slow paced and very long and very disturbing. So those are some reasons you might not want to. And now it kind of sounds like I'm trying to say not to, but I'm not. It was actually very good. So in a similar vein of being horribly disturbing, the book that I would recommend to you if you liked this movie is Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. This book, despite the author, is actually not a horror book. It is a crime novel, and it is the start of the Bill Hodges trilogy, which I have yet to complete, so I can't say anything about how good the second and third book are, even though I own both of them, and I will be finishing them, I promise, in 2020. Mr. Mercedes is about a man who drives into a crowd of people and kills a bunch of them, and it's essentially about Bill Hodges, who is investigating this man, or this act of terrorism essentially, and it's just about the detective trying to, you know, investigate this, and then the crimes that the man plans to commit in the future. And it's kind of told from both perspectives, but I don't really remember because I think I read this like 2 years ago. But again, I would totally recommend this if you like Seven, and if you like Mr. Mercedes, I would definitely recommend Seven. They have very similar like vibes to it. I feel like Stephen King's writing to me is always really gritty and kind of just like, it just, you feel uncomfortable while you're reading it, and that's how I felt while I was watching all of Seven. So yes, definitely would give one a try if you like Together. Okay, so now from this part of the video on, I will be recommending books based on movies that are actually based on books themselves, so it's a bit confusing and it's a bit of, you know, like book and movieception, but also Inception, great movie, one of my favorites, so if you want me to do another video where Inception's included, comment down below. But anyway, so obviously when I say the first movie, it's gonna be based on a book, so that book is obviously something you should check out if you haven't read it already, but I'm going to be recommending another book based on that movie if you've only seen the movie and you're not interested in reading the same plot. Okay, so the first movie for this is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, which, by the way, is an incredible book as well. And I've actually met Angie Thomas and she's so nice. So The Hate U Give is about a young African-American girl who is present when a cop pulls over her friend Khalil and he is shot for doing nothing wrong because he reached for his hairbrush, which the cop assumed was a gun. It chronicles the story of her seeking justice and what it's like to live in such an affluent, mostly white town, and how she has to deal with the repercussions of that whole tragedy. So one book that I think you would really, really enjoy and appreciate if you've read or seen The Hate U Give is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. I've also met Jason Reynolds and he was incredibly nice as well, so this book is assigned. This book is written in verse and it is about a boy and he's mourning the death of his brother who also was killed. I don't remember if he was shot in some sort of violence in the neighborhood or if he was shot by a police officer. I truly just don't remember that detail, but what I do remember is that this book is incredibly meaningful and it is one of the only books that I've read in verse that I've actually enjoyed. I've read The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, who a lot of people love that book, but I personally couldn't enjoy it as thoroughly. Although I do think I gave it a similar rating as this book. I feel like books in verse are harder to feel as attached to because you don't get as much time with the characters. But overall, this has very similar themes to The Hate U Give, similar themes of grief and mourning and injustice in the world it is written, and is about an African-American character, and it's written by an African-American author, so if you're looking for that in a story too, then I think you would really like this if you really liked The Hate U Give. There's a lot to learn from both works. The next movie is Love, Simon, and that's based on the book Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, and I think everyone in the world has basically seen this movie or read the book. That's about a teen boy named Simon who is gay, and he talks to a boy named Blue anonymously online through his email, and he's starting to fall in love with him, and he knows that he goes to a school, but he doesn't know who he is, and it's about him and his friends, just, you know, coming of age story, and also him trying to come out and to figure out who Blue is and see if Blue would still like him in person. So if you liked this movie and you've already read Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, or you don't want to, then I would highly recommend reading Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. This book comes out on January 21st of 2020, and it is a similar plotline. It's about a boy named Jack and a girl named Pepper, and both of them go to the same school, and they're interacting online, but they don't know that each other are the person online, just like in some Love, Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda or Love, Simon, but this book actually has two layers to it. So first, they are talking on an anonymous app that Jack actually created called Weasel for his whole school, and they're talking, and they're both anonymous on it, and they don't know that it's each other, but they really like who they're talking to online. So that's one layer of it. But secondly, Jack's mom and dad own a deli in New York City called Girl Cheesing, and Pepper's mom is the CEO of a huge fast food chain called Big League Burger, which is basically this version of reality. It's like McDonald's kind of thing. And she creates a new menu item called the Grandma's Grilled Cheese or something like that. But it turns out that that menu item is actually stolen from Jack's deli. So when they find out, Jack tweets something about that, about how mad he is that, like, they ripped him off, but he doesn't know that Paige is connected to this, and Paige doesn't know that Jack's connected to this. So then Paige, who's in charge of the Twitter for Big League Burger, tweets out a response, and they get into a Twitter war. And so they don't know that they're ones in the Twitter war, and they don't know that they're ones who are talking to each other online, but they do know each other in school from the swimming and dive team, and they're not really that close. So it's so much drama, it's so angsty, it's so dumb but so good, so cheesy. So yeah, if you like Love, Simon or Simon vs. Homo Sapiens Agenda and you like the anonymous talking trope, then I think you will definitely like Tweet Cute by Emma Lord, which is her debut novel, and it comes out so soon, so definitely check it out when you get the chance because it is so good. The next movie is Call Me By Your Name, starring Timothée Chalamet and Armie Hammer, which, sorry, just had to put that out there because Timothée Chalamet is my favorite person, as most of my friends know. But anyway, so Call Me By Your Name is a movie about Elio, who lives in Italy, and his dad is some sort of like music teacher or professor or something, and he takes in Oliver for the summer, his dad does, as a student for some, I don't remember the details exactly because that's not the important part. The important part is that Elio and Oliver start to fall in love, and Elio had never liked guys before or any experience with that, and it's also an age gap romance, so if that makes you uncomfortable then probably don't watch it. But I'm pretty sure Elio's 17 and Oliver's supposed to be like 24 or something. I don't know, but again, that's not like the main point of it. But it's just a really beautiful film. There's not really much plot. It's just Elio mostly figuring out his life and who he likes and what he likes and everything like that. He has relationships with girls in the movie too. He has relationships obviously with Oliver, and it's just a huge emotional ride set in Italy and France for part of it. It's very sad, very depressing, but so great. So if you like all of the emotions that you experience watching that movie, I think you will definitely like Autobiography by Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren is actually a writing duo, so that's why they go by they, because two people. So Christina Lauren has created a masterpiece within Autobiography. It is also about a male romance, just like Call Me By Your Name, but this takes place between two teens and they live in Utah. The main character here is named Tanner. So Tanner is in school and he's focusing on this one class he has to take specifically, where the goal is to write a book over the course of this class. And there's like a TA essentially, even though it's high school, in this class because it's so involved, and he's someone who successfully got his book published after taking this course, and his name is Sebastian. And so it's a little bit of an age gap, I guess, because he's like a TA. But Sebastian and Tanner eventually end up connecting and hitting it off, but it's very complicated because Sebastian cannot come out to his family and he doesn't even know if he can accept to himself that he likes guys, and it's deeply emotional also and handled very well. Very interesting commentary on religion and sexuality, and if you liked Call Me By Your Name, you would definitely like this book too, and if you like this book, you could definitely find something that you would like in Call Me By Your Name. So yes, I highly recommend both the film and the book on this one. Last but certainly not least is if you liked the movie Let It Snow, which is about a bunch of different couples who have unconnected stories in the beginning and then they all come together at the end. It's very cheesy. Honestly, it wasn't like my favorite movie by any means, definitely not my favorite romance movie at all, but it was entertaining enough, especially for the winter, so if you might have just seen this recently, if you liked the idea of that, and even if you didn't like the execution necessarily, I think you would really enjoy Meet Cute. Meet Cute is an anthology about a bunch of different couples just meeting for the first time. It is by all of these different authors. That includes Jennifer L. Armentrout, Katie Cotugno, Emery Lord, Nicola Yoon, Nina LaCour, Danielle Clayton, so many different authors that a lot of people love, and it's very diverse in ethnicity, religion, sexualities, different types of couples, all those things. It's so entertaining. Obviously not every story is my favorite story ever in this, but there are a bunch of 5 stars that made me want to read from the authors that wrote them, and a few, but I didn't like as much, but you know, they're short, you can skip around, it doesn't really matter. So if you like all the little stories that happened in Let It Snow, you would definitely like Meet Cute. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. I really hope that you find some movies or books to love in the future. Please recommend me any more books or movies that you think have good connections, and let me know if you would like more, because I've seen a ton of movies, so I can always connect more books to movies, and let me know if you want to know about my favorite movies of all time, because this list was certainly not that. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all again soon. Make sure to like and subscribe if you would like to, and yeah, bye!